I mean, it's not hard in English, I guess, to write iambic pentameter.
I tried a couple of other poems. I don't know why this
Sure.
thing won't let me do audio, but maybe I'll figure it out later. But should I show you a couple of other poems?
Sure, yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know if they're
absolutely.
that good, but I'll try.
Well, it's
Um,
not good or bad, really. I mean, it's just trying to
yeah.
figure out how this thing works because it's like a weird miracle that never goes quite the way you want it to. Wow. I mean, you would get a fine grade if that were your homework in a poetry workshop. You know, come up with a good snappy title for that. That's really good. I
I
love that.
like the Golden City that it used.
Yeah, but the
And then I
only thing
tried a
that's gold was
Panto.
the sun. Yeah.
Let's see
No,
here.
that's really good. That's very cool. And just think, I mean, like if you were an undergraduate creative writing person who had
Mhm.
access to this, like literally, you could get your degree with about an hour's worth of work. I
Never
mean,
do homework again.
Uh-huh.
we when Jay and I showed it to our an undergraduate class of ours this fall, we had a young woman in the class describe her homework assignment, the paper she needed to write, and we fed it into the thing and had the AI write the paper in what did it take, like 20 seconds, like about 1,000 word paper I think, and it was pretty good. Like we read through it, it made sense, it was solid. It would definitely have gotten at least a B in this class. And then of course we just erased the whole thing and she she looked like we had just broken her nose. She saw her whole life flash before her eyes. So do you have something else for us, Catherine?
Well, there was. Let's see. Uh, there's the Elroy coroner dialogue. Although now my standards are getting higher now. Like now I expect even more. Although the whole thing is way better than I expected it to be.
No, it generally is better. I mean, that was really my experience of it. Was like, oh, this is really kind of eerily good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's as good as you all are, but I think it's as good as most undergraduate writers are.
Mm.
I'm a
And
little scared of how well it understands me already.
when the more you use it, right, the more. I mean, that was my experience with Night Cafe. Was I was just like, after a while, I could use Night Cafe now to illustrate my own work, no problem. I could get images at a high enough resolution and with which I'm entirely satisfied as representing the character of what I do, because I've used it a lot. Did Catherine go away?
Scolding dogs, maybe? I don't know.
She dissed us.
Okay. Is that good enough?
Is what good enough? Are you done?
I could give you my last. I'm really dissatisfied with this computer. Anyway, the
Okay.
visuals.
Well. I mean, that's cool. We're gonna. This is your homework for next week anyway. So
Yeah.
I just want you to get a little time with it right now. But
Yeah.
over the
No,
week,
no, I'm not dissatisfied. I'm not dissatisfied with the AI. I'm trying to fire up this new computer and I just don't, I'm having trouble
Oh,
working.
did you
That's
get
all.
you got your VR capable
I did.
laptop? Oh,
I have
great.
my PC. Yes.
Yeah,
This is
good.
my first time trying to use it. So I'm sure it'll be great, but I just,
Yeah,
what my main,
you'll get used to it, and eventually you'll just go. You will have contempt for the Macintosh people, akin to my
I don't
own.
know if I'm going to get to that point. I really didn't want to fry my Macintosh doing all this stuff, but if anybody knows how to do the touch up my appearance thing on this thing, you guys probably don't because you're all still young. I mean, does anyone know about touch up my appearance? I mean, it's
Yeah,
great. I can do it on the Mac.
yeah, it's just a let's see, is it under? choose video filter. So if you see the camera, right,
Yeah.
over on the lower left side, you see the up arrow next to the camera.
Yeah.
Click that, and then go to, I think it's choose video filter.
Mine doesn't
Uh,
have that. Anyway, I don't want to mess with it right now, but I
Yeah.
I would show, I'll show you my, my one where I was trying to do have the universe deliver me a man thing.
Sure.
I kind of don't, I wish I had the whole sequence though, because it was just kind of funny. It may not be that funny. Let's just take a look. Let's see here.
I like that Catherine denounces herself and her work. It's funny, but it's not funny. I don't like it. I hate it. If you hate me for this, you're perfectly justified.
Hold on.
Don't kill me. Maybe it would be okay if you killed me. Oh, Maggie, do you know you were showing up as Ivy Wrights? Do you know that's why you didn't show up in they had somehow transposed your dog tag with Ivy Wrights's, and so Ivy Wrights was in this class, enrolled in this class, and you were not. That's what was going on.
That figures, to be honest.
So Ivy Wrights was stealing your identity. I think you should definitely press charges.
Can I get some of her credits for graduation?
Are you sharing with us, Catherine? What is happening?
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeing anything shared.
Oh, can you not see it? Let's see. So it wasn't working? Let me try it again. Did that not work? What?
Nope.
Did that not
Nope.
work?
Nope.
Nope.
Huh. Well, I don't know what's happening. Sorry, guys. Like I say, I'm trying to get used to this thing. All right. Well, c'est la vie.
Okay. Who else? Who's going to share with us? Let's see. Who is going to share with us? There we go.
Right. So.
Wow. Are you in a cell?
Yes.
Okay, because that really looks like, I mean, not that I know what a holding cell looks like, but it really, like the lighting and the cinder block construction, except they wouldn't want to have like a hard corner, like it's just over your right shoulder.
Yeah.
Because you could really curb stomp somebody against that. Yeah. No, that's very
Get me out of here.
Out of the agreement, after 6 p.m. All right, let's see. So I did a couple stuff. I was really interested in kind of like voice and perspective. So I did a letter from Jesus to millennials and Pablo Escobar, and it's actually pretty funny.
Nice.
So this is what I got.
More than your dog loves you.
And your goldfish.
Yeah.
So
sometimes
you
it may
really
seem
just
like a
gave
double.
you just gave it the prompt, write a letter from Jesus to millennials?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in kind of voice, and I feel like it nails it down because I've been trying to kind of like test it, like kind of like play with variables and see if Jesus can say something different to like different people. So that kind of like gives me idea of like a testing kind of like subject and variables. And so I did a letter from Jesus to Pablo Escobar. And it's very interesting because the perspective kind of like, yeah.
I'm impressed with the work you've been doing. I admire your ambition and your drive.
So
You're gonna start a new religion here, like.
it just tells us that their understanding of Jesus is also interesting, because it tells us that they're thinking. So the character in their mind is thinking about like a loving character that is never going to condemn anyone. which means that they're loving without that kind of like opposite frontier. So it gives us like a half picture of the characters. It's not a full picture of the character. So embodying that character is kind of like, yeah, like Jesus would still love Pablo Escobar despite all the killings and like, you know. So it's very interesting, kind of like perspective. I mean, it's very interesting. Yeah, I wrote like kind of like I tried to kind of like come up with the Arab who lost his camel,
Sure.
the rat who longed to be a human. It's very interesting, but I feel like these letters give us like voice, and I find
No, the letters are great, and it's and the real invention, right? It comes from deciding to have Jesus write a letter to Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he helps to find you well.
I hope this letter finds you well.
The genericness of that intro is just beautiful.
Okay, well, I think we definitely want to use that one when we talk to the Oxford AI people. I think they'll get a big kick out of that.
Cool. Thank you. That's it.
Well done. It's you, Holly.
It's me. Okay, I don't think I'm quite getting the depth that everyone else is getting, so I'll show what I've done. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
So I tried to do question and answer between Drew Carey and the Price is Right model, but I don't think I'm doing the parameters quite right with the Q&A. So what's your name? Drew Carey. What are you wearing? I'm wearing a green shirt and blue jeans. How old are you? I'm 33 years old. What's your occupation? I'm a comedian and actor. What's your favorite color? My favorite color is blue. It's kind of like, okay. That was great. You know, let's see.
Well, for one thing, just put a return before A in the inject restart text. Try putting a return there.
How do I do that?
What's that?
How do I do that? Inject
just hit
restart
return.
text.
Hit return right now. No, before the A. There you go. Yeah, try that. You might try one before the Q as well.
Before the Q. Okay.
Right, and you want stop sequences to be A and Q, A colon and Q colon. So go up to stop sequences.
So A colon.
And then hit tab. No, just after the A colon. Get rid of the Q. No.
Oh, okay.
Hit that X. A colon, tab. Q colon, tab.
Okay.
Okay. Now, but also give it like something like question and answer between Drew Carey and a Price is Right model, but make the Price is Right model interesting, like like a Price is Right model with rabies, or try some.
Okay.
Yeah. Now just get rid of all that. Right there, you go. And now just hit generator control.
do you have rabies?
Well, the way it's set, I'm sorry, the stop sequences are going to leave it to you to answer the questions. So do you want it to just write the whole thing by itself?
Yeah.
Okay, just get rid of the stop sequences then.
Okay. So let's just do generate.
So you can just hit generate, yeah.
I don't know. Do I have rabies? How would I know if I have rabies? I don't know. I did have one that was kind of funny that got a chuckle out of me yesterday. Let's see. It started with the sewage treatment plant. Let's see. Changing presets. We'll discard it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. A man works at a sewage treatment plant and his boss has a lot of paperwork to do. The boss asks one of the workers, "Hey, can you come over and help me with this paperwork?" I can't. I'm busy. Busy doing what? I'm working on the sewage treatment plant. What does that have to do with paperwork? So that was probably that was one that got me chuckling. I don't know how great it is as far as text goes.
I think
Like
it's, I mean, it's funny, right? I mean, all of this is just as much as you can, don't kind of put value judgments on this stuff. Like just experience. Very, very few people in the world and very few writers have ever had the experience of like playing around with an extremely high level AI, you know, that does natural language processing. So just do it for the sake of that, right?
I laughed out loud so many times.
I'm working on the sewage treatment plant.
Yeah, right. Like, isn't that what you asked? Isn't that what I'm hearing?
What does that have to do with paperwork?
What do you think I'm doing? Yeah.
So I actually redid that prompt after today. I tried to be a little more specific, and the rest of this wasn't that great either. So what do you think of the new job? It's not bad. I'm just used to being down in the I'm just not used to being down in the trenches all day. Yeah, it can be pretty dirty work, but it's a necessary part of society, and somebody's got to do it. So, I guess so. It just wasn't what I expected when I took the job. Oh, well, don't worry too much about it. You'll get used to it. In the meantime, here's a lot of paperwork for you to do.
Just like bosses everywhere. So, you think you're miserable now? Here's some paperwork.
So that one was kind of funny.
Great.
I did an Iggy Pop eulogy, not his eulogy, but him doing the eulogy in the style of Iggy Pop lyrics.
Sure.
So that was kind of interesting. I'm the ghost of your lover, past, present, and future. I'm the god of your sex life, the one you're never gonna get. I'm your conscience speaking, and I know that you're cheating on yourself and everyone else.
Wow. That's
yeah.
I mean, that could be an Iggy Pop song. Like, yeah.
Let's see. So yeah, exactly. And then I did Gretel Ehrlich. Let's see. Lyrics in the style of Gretel Ehrlich.
I want the Valley Girl combo.
Oh yeah. Okay, I know a girl who's like a storm. She comes in fierce and she goes out strong. And every time she hits, she takes you down. You never know what's coming next. She's the kind of girl who makes your heart race, the kind of girl you can't forget. She's the one that keeps you up at night. And when you finally meet her, you'll know why. So that one was all right. The Valley Girl conversation.
That's better than I could do.
Yeah. Well, no, yours was very good. Okay. Oh my God. Like, have you seen that new mall kiosk? It's like so totally cool. Yeah, I was just there. They have the latest phones and stuff. I know, right? I'm so going to buy one. Definitely. It's a total must have. So
Apple is snooping on us.
No, I mean, it's absolutely got voice down, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful.
So that was it. That was all I had.
No, great. All right. Well, so it's about 5 till 7. So your homework for next week for story time is to collaborate in whatever way you choose to interpret the idea of collaboration with an AI, but collaborate with the AI on a piece that you're going to present during story time next week. That's part 1 of your homework. You're going to have actually 2 parts to your homework this week, but that's part 1, right? Story time next week is going to be the AI. And look up other people's prompts. Like, we got a lot of really good examples today. I'm really thinking one-shots are the way to go. But try different kinds. Try few shots. Try many shots. You know, and you know, you can find out a lot about how to use this AI in a week. So okay. So that's your homework. Let's break for, you know, about 5 minutes. We'll come back a little after 7, and we'll start story time. And Matt, are you ready to start the stream at 7? or thereabouts?
Oh, I've been streaming the last 5 minutes here.
Oh, great. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
So
Okay.
we'll just do a
we'll
hold screen for
just take
5
a brief
minutes.
break. Go, take a slug of whatever you like, and ready yourselves for story time. I love
Hi,
story.
Catherine's daughter.
Oh, there's Catherine's daughter. Whoop.
Thank you for noticing.
Wow.
felt like it doesn't.
I'm sorry, Catherine. I talked over.
It doesn't know enough about Tolkien, I feel.
Really? Because it should have access to all of Tolkien.
Where do you start with Tolkien? That's the problem. It's just so big. It's like a Joss Whedon universe or something.
I did give it a Charles Portis prompt, and it started off with a character called Hiram, which I liked. I should have saved that one.
Well, but the thing to remember, right? Or at least one of the things I take away from it is that you realize like anything can be legit, right? Any story, it should. I mean, if it does nothing else, I hope it sort of, lets you see that nothing you do is going to be stranger or more nonsensical than the AI does, right? But it's not like we think, the AI is funny and interesting, and I like spending time with the AI. So it's you're not going to ruin your life by doing something, incautious.
See, my husband reads way too much science, and there is something about fish and AI that is coming off of like the scientific journals right now. And I'm like, I don't even want to know what the fish and the AI are doing.
The fish is putting a curse on bald English professors.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, was that not beautiful? Like it was.
It's hilarious. I loved it because I identified with the main characters. Okay, so Matt, are we streaming? All right, now remember, when our hundreds of adoring fans don't necessarily know who you are, so I want you to do a brief intro for you and for the work you're about to present us when you are called up on the stage. Okay? Everybody ready to go?
How did I know it was going to be me? So, hi, I'm Alexis. My lighting's bad on purpose, but now I'm seeing it's a little too bad, but we're going to run with it. Really, that's all you need to know about me. So, I'll be sharing this, and I'll be making it larger so it actually works. So I made a little comic because we're talking about structure, and I wanted to challenge myself to do structure without words, or without sound effects, without anything. A lot of violence in this one, so prep yourself. I'm going to be kind of taking it panel by panel. I'm not going to be elaborating, but alas. Actually, the silence is off-putting to me now. Well, I'll narrate awkwardly. Behold. Alrighty. I think I'm going too fast, but we have to run with it. I have made a mistake, but alas. Okay, I cannot see my tab because of the screen share thing. How are we going to get to part 3 without closing it? There we go. Zoom out slightly.
It's working great, by the way, Alexis. You seem to be unnerved, but it's coming through phenomenally clearly. So just keep going.
Thank you. Well, I've got my little illustrations of death and destruction. That's all I really need. So I put away my like bullet point spiel, but the gist of it was kind of pacing out combat with the idea of, you said something that is unknown to the audience, but unknown to the character. And by the end, it is known to the character. So it was this idea of, it's like loosely, originally it was a gladiator thing. And then I put it in the Arctic because then it can be white and I don't have to color. So that was my intentionality. But the idea that in this, we know the character is somewhat aware that one or both of them will die. And by the end, she's lost more than she was expecting, and she has to kill, and has like this moment of odd sympathy, like sympathy with loss. I'm not going to over explain it too much because it's up to you to interpret as an audience, but nonetheless kind of playing with, again, what I could do without having to actually rely on words.
Everything you just said came through beautifully in the piece all by itself.
Thanks. Should I stop sharing, or how am I returning this best to you? There we go.
You might want to look, there's a piece of software called Comic Life 3 by a company named Plask, P-A-L-S-Q. And it gives you, like, all you have to do is create the graphics, and it gives you frames and speech balloons and thought bubbles and sound effects, banners and stuff like that. It will make your comics look really professional. But like, if you had a website where you were putting something like that up every week, I would absolutely make that part of my weekly routine to go see that. Like, that's a terrific little story, right? And it's a story in the way that we define story. And it's a whole complete story. It may have a larger world around it, but it doesn't need to. Like, that's exactly what we're looking for. Really satisfying piece of work. So check out Comic Life. I think it's like $20, and infinitely worth it. I've published comics that I've formatted using Comic Life.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Serrano Echeverria. You can follow me at Mr. December1 on Instagram, or accented_I on Twitter. For today, I am going to be presenting a scene that I created with this AI thing that we just did in class. I didn't really have a ton of time to work on a video project that I wanted to work on. So instead, I just like played around with this thing for a long time and made a very odd scene that I enjoy very much. So I will just share that and just read it for you all. All right. So at the beginning, I just put or left the in the beginning, I left the instructions for like what I wanted the AI to do, but a little bit after that, I just kind of rewrote it so it actually flowed more like a story. So first, I did give me a list of giant bugs that the average person could take in a fight, and the AI said the average person could take on a giant beetle, a giant wasp, or a giant cockroach.
I question the validity of that assertion, but we'll go with it for the sake of the story. I will suspend disbelief, but
thank you. You will need to suspend a lot of disbelief for the story.
Okay, all
right. Then I asked it to give me a scene where these bugs walk into a bar and order some disappointing cocktails. All right. Then it says, "Hey, barkeep, we'll have 2 of your strongest cocktails, please." The bartender looks at the bugs skeptically. I'm sorry, but we don't serve drinks to bugs." The bugs scowl. "What do you mean? We're perfectly capable of drinking alcohol like any other human. I'm sorry, but I can't serve you. Please leave." The giant cockroach is pestered by the barkeep, who is trying to get it to leave. The cockroach gets angry and decides to fight back, using its large size and strength to intimidate the barkeep. The barkeep, however, is a Vietnam War veteran who has seen enough violence. He doesn't want to see a cockroach get hurt, so he tries to defuse the situation. "Don't you be starting no trouble here, you oversized pest. You'll leave if you know what's good for you. I don't want no fight, so take your crappy cocktails and go."
So the barkeep sort of speaks in like poems or something.
Yeah, I asked it to make a dialogue in an iambic pentameter.
Perfect. Great.
So after that, the bugs are upset by this insect prejudice and full of unbridled teenage angst. Break into the barkeep's car and go for a joyride down the streets of San Francisco in the year of 2259. Hey, says the barkeeps, but the insects pay him no mind. The bugs are causing hedonistic destruction, stealing carb-rich foods and smashing into other cars. They're having a blast until they're pulled over by the police. Identify yourself, the robotic voice of the police officer said. The bugs were startled. We're just some bugs. We didn't do anything wrong. You're in a stolen car. You're gonna have to come with me. But the bugs refuse. In a battle to the death, the bugs take on the police force in a last-ditch effort. They're outnumbered and outgunned, but they fight with all they've got. And here's where the twist comes. List of actors who would be likely to portray these bugs in a movie, says Meryl. The bugs could be portrayed by Nicolas Cage, Will Ferrell, or Seth Rogen, says Genghis. List better actors who would be likely to portray these bugs in a movie. Tom Hanks or Julia Roberts. In a spectacular battle to the death, bugs take on the police force in a last-ditch effort to escape. They are outnumbered and outgunned, but they fight with all they've got. Meryl Streep nods her head in understanding. This sounds like a deeply complex and thought-provoking film that will leave audiences questioning the very nature of society. Genghis Khan raises an eyebrow. It does not sound like it would be very good. Meryl Streep, I think Nicolas Cage would be perfect for the role of the giant cockroach. Genghis Khan, I disagree. He's too famous and will overshadow the other bugs. Meryl Streep, I think it would be perfect for the role. He has the acting chops to pull it off. Genghis Khan, I'm not sure he is right for the role. And then he begins to sing a Broadway I Want song. I don't want no bug, no oversized pest. I don't want no cockroach or wasp. They can't act. They can't dance. They wouldn't fit in our pants. So why do we need them in our movie? No, 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 no. Give me a bug that I can root for. A bug with some heart and soul. Someone we can all cheer for in this bug movie of ours.
Okay, I have to have a copy of that. Will you?
That was gloriously beautiful.
Thank you. I tried.
Bravo, bravo.
Okay, the entire AI idea has now panned out.
Hello, my name is Salam Wada, and I did a dramatic reading recording of the story that I came up with for the scene. And I think I'm going to ask Pinckney to share it because but I sent it to you because my computer tends. I emailed it to me. Yeah.
Yep.
I also sent it to you again today, just in case. But my laptop tends to lag when I share anything. So.
Okay, here we go. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Got it.
In the morning. It's a lot quieter than usual. So quiet that I can't bear staying still for another second. I move my foot, and the sound of skin rubbing against cold sheets makes me feel tangible again. I know where she's gone, but I've never been awake to witness it. I don't bother glancing over to the side of my bed to check. Her breathing is too loud to miss. I can touch the quiet, and my heart is trying to crawl its way out of my skin. I'm sweating, but it's cold. The snow outside is distant and roaring, and suddenly I need to lie in it. I get up and walk towards my front door. My hand rests on the doorknob. I know she's standing right outside. Her breathing is different. It's continuous, pauseless, steady. I open the door, and I'm in the worst pain of my entirely short, pitiful life. Her blue tentacle is inside of me, and I'm jarred, no, horrified by the lack of blood. Baby, I'm sorry, she speaks, in her way of speaking, odd and emotional, not in the way we are, but in a more factual sense, like she's supposed to be emotional, and so she is. She claims my blood and looks at me in her way of looking. She's eyeless, and I can never look at her. Not really, at least. Not fully. But she can look at me. I can feel it, and at one point it had become familiar, and I felt noteworthy, like she'd picked me out of the extraordinarily blurry webbing of earthly creatures. She chose me to look at, to land her eyeless gaze on. I'm terrified of dying, and at once I understand the idea of blinding pain. I'm entirely blind now, and can only think of how magnificent my life was just moments before, when the only pain I felt was chemical, when I was lying in my bed, cold and unhappy, but unafraid. She drags my limp body in, and the door behind her shuts. I wish she hadn't. I wish she'd left me in the snow. I can't get myself to make a single word out. I'll dry you a bath, she says, taking me to the bathroom we never shared. My thoughts wander to the image I used to conjure up and wish for, of her scrubbing her tentacles clean as I brushed my teeth in front of our small, discolored sink. How strangely normal it seemed to me, how I wished we could fit into the wonderfully ordinary earthly romances of sharing things, of readying ourselves for sleep. She draws the bath, her tentacles still deep inside of me, now a part of me, and the water is steaming. She places me in, and the heat of the water is sickening, and I wish more for the snow. The water around me feels all-encompassing, and I'm miserable, and I've earned it. I've existed long, accepting she left every night to eat, someone's mother, someone's lover, someone's babe. I have no right to the snow.
You're good at that. That's a form that suits you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dejanae, and I do not have anything to share today.
Okay.
I am in the midst of trying to sort through the best of these AI monologues. I made just an absolute swarm of them, and I think the best one is here. Let me get to it. It is a new monologue in the style of David Lynch. So if anyone's heard David Lynch talk for extended periods of time, he's a wonderful storyteller verbally, and this was shocking how much GPT-3 captured his cadence. It's really haunting. So I will do my best. I will not do the voice, but I'll try to capture the cadence the best I can. I was born in the small town of Missoula, Montana in 1946. My father was a research assistant who studied the effects of radiation on animals. My mother was a housewife. We lived in a small house on the edge of town. I had an older brother and sister. We were a happy family. I loved to play in the forest that surrounded our house. I would explore the streams and hills, and I would find the animals that lived in the forest, and I would watch them. I was a happy child, but then something happened that changed my life forever. I was 6 years old. My family was driving to visit my grandparents in Seattle. We were on a freeway, and there was a car in front of us that had a flat tire. My father stopped to help, and while he was changing the tire, a drunk driver hit our car from behind. My sister was killed instantly. My brother was critically injured. My mother was paralyzed, and I was thrown through the windshield. I was in a coma for 3 weeks. When I woke up, I was blind. I'd lost my eyesight in the accident. I was devastated. I didn't know how I was going to survive, how I was going to live without my sight, how I was going to get by, but I knew I had to try. So I started to learn how to live again, how to cope with my blindness. I started to learn how to use my other senses, how to find my way in the world without sight. And slowly over time, I began to adjust. I started to learn that I could still do things, that I could still be a part of the world. I started to learn that blindness is not a curse, it's just a different way of seeing the world. And I started to learn that there is beauty in the darkness, a beauty in the unknown. So now, even though I can't see the world, I can still feel it. I can experience it. I can feel the warmth of the sun and the coolness of the moon and the breath of the wind. I can still feel the beauty of the world even though I can't see it.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow, that was
there's absolutely no way you could guess that was not a human creation.
So my idea now, after enough of these, some of them are good. That's the most beautiful one, but they're all over the place. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are heartbreaking. But I've got a couple voice actor friends, and I am going to start a TikTok account of just anonymous actors reading AI-generated monologues.
Keep doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. When you do that, please let us know. We'll all subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely. Can do.
Wow. But that's the best AI monologue I've heard. Like seriously, that was generated by the AI?
I only prompted it by sticking in a few pieces of punctuation.
Sure.
I may have ended one non sequitur sentence with a period, but otherwise that was the most eloquent.
Right? I mean, nothing says you can't edit. I mean, we edit what we write. Why wouldn't we edit what the AI writes, right? But really, the bulk of that was the composition of the AI.
100%.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's the best thing I've seen written by an AI so far.
Yeah, no, we definitely will take that in front of the Oxford people. Because that's a terrific little story.
Yeah, and that's what was surprising. It really used biographical information to set up who this person was, and then it literally told a story, like structurally. That's unbelievable.
Also, it went on a long time. I mean, I had trouble getting mine to go on a long time. Do you have some trick for that?
Well, I set the what's it called? The stopping points to be on periods, commas, question marks, and exclamation points.
And so every time it ended a sentence, the AI stopped, and then you refreshed it.
Yep, I kicked another sentence. Yeah. Oh, once or twice it led to some repetition, but generally I've got it to spit out complete phrases and then move on from there.
Great advice. So use punctuation as the stopping points.
Hyphens help too, commas, hyphens, and periods, and then I can go in like with exclamation points and question marks where they're appropriate.
Yeah, and what was your length setting?
God, I think like 200.
Okay. Yeah. Good. That's yeah. Rather than try to get it to do it all in one shot.
Yeah, right? It did sentences or 2 to 3 sentences. It never really cracked past that, and it would start spitting out groups of sentences when it started repeating itself. So before I did in the voice of David Lynch, I did a monologue in the style of a David Lynch movie, and that just started repeating phrases, I'm not sure what's going on, and then it repeated the phrase, is this a dream? And then I'm not seeing things that may be real, and then I feel like I'm in a David Lynch movie. Is this some kind of nightmare? I can't tell what's real or not. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. And each of those got repeated 8 times, and I tried commas, question marks, and they would just keep going once it fell in that pattern.
Great. Yeah, and so if something's not working, the great thing with the AI is you just toss it out and try again, right? Because it doesn't ever get tired. And you can always roll it back. There's an undo button at the bottom of the screen. You can erase stuff. You can it's like a word processor document. You can edit it to your heart's content. You don't have to just depend on the AI to do it all. Okay, Catherine, are you ready to share with us?
I could read something.
Absolutely. It's story time. Do a story.
All right. I've been trying to do something related
You're like
to
Dejanay. Just tell us to go fuck ourselves. Get out of here.
I've been trying to do something on practicing law in the 80s. It's hard to remember, actually. Okay. It was 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. Nancy bellied up to word processing, hoping they'd disgorged her brief. Tim, a senior guy everybody feared, was coming in at 8 to read it. They had to file tomorrow. Word processing's outbox was full, but Nancy's brief was nowhere to be seen. Martine, the weekend graveyard shift supervisor, eyed Nancy from across the counter. Martine could never just look friendly. You're always here, she said. Yeah, you too, though, said Nancy. No, I leave at 8 a.m., Martine said, slapping down documents like a croupier with really large cards. And I won't be back till Friday. She was boldly made up, her lipstick thick and juicy looking. A cosmic peroxide blonde, in pin curls, and tonight, a 1940s looking coral peplum. Against the all-white office, she looked like a Warhol Marilyn. And as with Warhol Marilyns, every detail was magnified for easy viewing. Martine was easily 6'2". Graveyard was, of course, her day job. I don't mind living here, said Nancy. I have nothing else to do. She stepped out of her shoes and sank her toes into the carpet. It felt woolly, deluxe. You do things. You're one of those people who people come to LA to be. She hoped Martine saw her comment as a compliment. It was so intended. You're acting strange, Martine said. Why aren't you whining about a document? For some reason, I don't feel panicky. Not feeling panicky was weird. Nancy was new to the firm, new to the practice. She sucked at everything. Every day she maneuvered to learn how to do things in the nick of time to do them. Ex parte applications, writ petitions, jury instructions. Well, now she knew her flip-in pills from her flip-overs. She knew a shit canning from a clusterfuck. Before the firm, she'd never even used cuss words. Now she was reasonably fluent. As with any language, the secret was total immersion. Some guy stepped out from proofreading, both arms sagging under double arm loads, massive sheaves. You're not panicky because you're impaired, he said. Tiredness is a type of drunkenness. He was a short, doughy, t-shirted slob with pelt-like hair. Nancy found him kind of cute. Also, he hit the nail. Nancy had been writing that brief for 33 straight hours. Well, there'd been dinner at Gorky's and a brief trip back to her apartment to shower and change, so maybe 31, but writing it since close of business Friday, since the dreaded page came over the PA. Nancy McCarthy 4040, Tim's extension. There were maybe 300 people in the office, a few thousand firm-wide, but that extension everybody knew. The proofreader continued, professorial. Also, you're wrong. Martine's not the person people come to LA to be. She's the person people come to LA to fraternize with. Martine's spread fingers seemed to press dimples into the white laminate. She could have palmed a basketball or the proofreader's head. But at Honig Meyerson, people were paid a bunch of money. Too much to fuck things up for no good reason. The slob went on unconcerned. I'm the person people come to LA to be. 15 months ago, Nancy would have thought he was joking. Not so much now. She exchanged glances with Martine. Because I'm a writer. Of The Simpsons. What's that? It airs in January. The writing's excellent. Enjoy my proofreading. I'll be giving it up soon. I'm Derek, by the way. Wow, I've never met a writer, Nancy said. As she gained experience in LA, Nancy had found ingenuous to be a good strategy. It played to her demographics. Lately, she was starting to have fun with it. Never? Why not? Said Derek. I'm not originally from a writer-rich environment. Are you? Of course, I'm from here, Toluca Lake. Nancy did not know what that was. Now I live in Hollywood. Do you know anyone? Not really. So you're a new paralegal. That's cool. The overtime's unlimited. You could make $80K. That's as much as first-year associates. He talked fast. She'd always liked this kind of nerdy motor mouth. And you'll be infinitely more useful, less fireable, less assholey, of course. She's a lawyer, Derek, said Martine. Ouch, thought Nancy. You didn't want to say it to just anyone. You, said Derek. He looked at Nancy assessingly. Stealthy of you. Why didn't you say something? I don't like for people to think I'm assholey. But you don't act like the rest of them. Why not? How to do it was the question. How one acted like a lawyer. I'm new to it, she said. Class of '88. Not from a lawyer-rich environment, he said. No. Why don't you fill me in? That's it.
Damn. No, you write a perfectly lucid, publishable prose. Once you find, once you find the story, and maybe you've already found it, but once you find the story, that you really want to tell that other people want to read, you're going to have absolutely no problem getting your work out in the world, because that's a completely publishable prose. There's almost nothing. There's nothing in terms of prose that you need to learn or improve, right? Just keep writing and really work on plot. Like you've got great characters, right? The great tall person, and then you introduce the other character, right? So you've got sort of C-3PO, and then out comes R2-D2. She can palm his head, right? So we see them in relationship to each other, the differences in their size and stuff like that. The only thing I'm missing at this point from that scene is plot. Like it's witty, it's funny, it's well done. The characters are vivid, but I don't know why I'm reading it. Like I don't know, is it a murder story? Is it a ghost story? Is it a love story? I don't have any idea. So, but as soon as you make sure that plot is informing everything you write, you're off to the races, and you can write as many novels as you want, and you don't ever have to be better at writing a sentence or a paragraph. Like don't try to be a better writer, just be a better storyteller, right? That's literally all that seems to me that is missing, and I don't know your work well enough to know if that's correct. I just know from that segment, I kept wondering, like, why? Okay, these are interesting people, but like I'm surrounded by interesting people. I need a reason to be watching these particular interesting people, and that's going to be plot of whatever sort, right? Yeah. But you have to find a reason beyond like your wit and to keep me turning pages, and plot's what keeps people turning pages. But that's the but no, you don't listen to anybody who tells you how to write. because you are fine. Like I know many people who make 6 figures a year from their writing who are not nearly as good as you are. And literally, no, I'm not kidding. I ask anybody, right? Ask Jody. Jody, do I blow smoke up people's asses about their writing?
No.
No, I really don't. I'm kind of the opposite. So I'm really not kidding you. I mean, part of me just says, why are you in an MFA program? But like it's a legit thing to do. But yeah, you just have to find really compelling plot, and you're golden, and you will. But I like I say, I know many rich people who are rich from their writing who are not nearly as good at prose as you are. What they're good at is storytelling. What they're good at is like keeping the tension on, right? And making the stakes really high. And that's not really something we can teach, I mean, except just by saying the plot isn't yet up to the writing. And I would say that's true of really pretty much everybody in this class, right? Is that there's so little that I can teach you about writing. We can just say, well, you're all funny, you're all witty, you're all competent writers. Anyway, enough. But I'm really glad I got to hear that section of your work, because I'm a believer now. Like you're gonna be just fine.
Okay. I am Holly Sparkman, and this is another true story. It is an audio file, so I will start sharing and see if I can get it to work.
So I walk into the coffee house one day, probably walking tense, probably tense shoulders, probably wearing a polo and khakis. Kim's at the back counter and no one else is there. I greet her and I say, "Hi, how's it going?" She says, "See?" and waves her arm across the empty coffee house. I say, "Well, it's a nice day out and people are probably doing stuff. Do you need me to do anything?" She says, "Nah, there's nothing really to do." She's hungry and asks if I want anything. I say, "No, I'm not hungry. It's kind of a personal rule for me never to admit that I'm hungry, so I don't. I'm just trying to be polite." She says, well, she's going to find something to eat. She goes into the swinging door in the kitchen behind her. She comes out with her arms full. She's got bread, a plate, a tomato, a jar of mayonnaise, and a knife. She sets everything on the counter. She says she's going to make a sandwich and asks if I want one. This should have been a very simple question, but everything inside me stops. So first I'm like, ew, gross, and my stomach turns and I tense up, and I'm thinking, have I ever eaten mayo before? What is mayo even? It's like semi-liquid fat, right? And whatever it is, it turns into the same thing in your body, right? So I'm thinking, what's gonna happen to me if I eat this? And I'm in full-on panic mode, and I'm like sweating, but I gotta play it cool because I like Kim so much and she's so cool. So I'm fighting in my mind with old me and new me. Old me is panicking and sweating, and new me grabs old me by the shoulders for a pep talk. New me looks at old me and grabs old me by the face and says, "Look at her. Do you think she'd look like that if any of what you were thinking was true? Would she share with you if she thought it was gross? Maybe get over yourself and try." So I look at Kim and she puts her cigarette down. I see her beautiful body in her tight jeans and her ripped t-shirt. I'm drawn to her. I'm pulled like a magnet. I can't keep my eyes off of her. She has perfect short tousled hair, ball chain bracelets that wrap around her delicate wrists that lead up to her muscular forearms. I look up to her striking angular face with piercings on either side of her bottom lip and her big brown eyes looking at her food. She looks at me and says, "Well, you're missing out," and she flashes me her snaggletooth smile and shrugs. Years later, I would find out that Kim has her own food issues, but really who doesn't? And it just comes down to a question of, does it control you or do you control it? Anyway, I don't think she knows I'm sweating. I don't think she can tell I'm having this back and forth, or I hope not. So I watch her make this sandwich like I used to watch my friends in junior high eat their lunches, staring, mouth half open.
So I watch as she pulls 2 pieces of bread out of the bread bag. She opens the jar of mayonnaise and dips her knife in and gently spreads some on the bread. She cuts the tomato into gleaming, juicy slices and lays them on the mayo-wiped bread so that they're evenly distributed. Then she takes out salt and pepper shakers and dusts the tomatoes before joining the bread together. She then takes her knife and cuts the sandwich in half, squishing the sandwich down some, then watching it as it bounces back into shape. I watch Kim take a bite of one of her sandwich halves, my mouth falling slightly open, and she looks me dead in the eye while taking a slow bite. She then grabs the other half and hands it towards me, and mid-chew, her mouth still full, she says, "You sure?" Something inside me melts. The steely armor of resolve that I had constructed inside me that was supposed to protect me and keep me from ingesting fattening foods, and thus keep fat from my body, withers away as I look at her, offering me something. People are always giving her stuff, and here she is giving me something. She's trying to share something with me, and I can't resist. The old me is screaming, "No, no, don't do it. You have to stay strong. It's the only way. I'm thinking of a way to flee." But the new me is intrigued, turning towards this new edible adventure, slapping a hand over the mouth of the old me, saying, "What if? What if it's good?" I grasp the sandwich half and pull it to my face, take a smell. It smells okay. I'm looking at the sandwich and then at Kim. I take a bite. It's amazing. I can taste the tart, liquidy tomato, brightened by the salt, contrasted by the deep, rich creaminess of the mayonnaise, topped with the subdued spice of the pepper, all finished off in this soft, white bread envelope. I look at Kim and she smiles. "It's good, right?" I look at her with a full mouth and say,
"Oh my God, it is so good."
We each look at the sandwich halves we're holding, sitting atop stools on either side of the counter. We slump our shoulders over our food, breathing deep, chewing, smiling. Thank you.
Yeah, that's super. I want you to just do a podcast, do one of those every week. Just do a vignette every week. But that wasn't a vignette. That really was a scene. Like, I mean, that was a scene exactly on the model of Inigo Montoya versus the Dread Pirate Roberts, right?
That's what I was going for.
Yeah, no, exactly. And except for the swords, it's the sandwich, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the swords and the sandwich do have exactly the same function in the scene, and that's a perfect scene. It's a perfect dramatic scene. So yeah, like that's so good. And you sound great, by the way. That's you really you've got a great podcast voice.
Hi, I'm Ismail. I'm a second year MFA student, and I will be sharing with you a poem. So this poem is called "No Electricity or Parents in Gaza." So the first word is a grandmother, and second one is a clay oven. So that's kind of like to help you understand. So city strikes a match and feeds the tabboon mouth, tree trimmings, fall flora, crushed cartons of bitter biscuits, tattered textbooks, and shriveled roots of sage. The clay crackles tangerine and charcoal into her creases, into the cornflower blue. She slaps the dough on the tabboon's wall and bakes me something fleeting of the morning, something ceaseless of the summer, something sweet and sour of the sun and the sea, something fragile of a filament that flames into the nightfall,
into the moonlit blue. What else should I bake you? She asks. Anything firm of a father to soften the flapping of my feathers. Anything tender of a mother to latch onto in the dark. So that's it.
Yeah, that's killer. You all are doing really well with food. Like, I've almost never had an MFA class that wrote well about sensory experiences or sensual experiences, and it's so much fun to feel like you guys have bodies and taste buds and eyes. Like, I don't feel like I'm dealing with a class full of mole people.
I was thinking the same thing about Ismail's writing is always very sensual. You can always like
Yeah,
feel
absolutely.
the wind and earth and the
Absolutely.
surroundings.
And I don't think I needed the translations. You know what I mean? Maybe I only say that because I had the translations, but I actually kind of I don't know. I would try it without the translations and see if people are like, wait, is a taboo an animal? You know what I mean? Like, and she's feeding it trash. Like, what the hell? But I feel like I would get it even just and I would like to be trusted that way. You know what I mean? Like, because even if I don't get it exactly, like, I'm gonna know City is a person who's taking care of this person and is not this person's parents, right? And so that's probably enough for me. I might think it was a name. If I would probably take it to be a proper name. I'm a grandfather, by the way. That happened since I saw you all last. I'm a granddad, so I now officially take shit from no one.
Congratulations.
I am done taking shit. So happy.
Welcome.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us a
No,
little bit.
he's in the NICU right at the moment, but I think he's going to be able to go home tomorrow because he's got a good appetite and he's doing fine. So I'm pretty excited.
I guess so.
All right, let's see.
Hey folks, I'm Bryce Patterson, and I'm going to share an audio piece, which if you like this, or if you like the audio elements, I have an electronic project called My Silent Machine that has a couple albums on Spotify with a buddy of mine. So you can check that out. So, and the piece is fairly long. It's like 12 minutes, so I'm only going to do the first like 5 of it.
Yeah, good. No, that's a good choice.
Yeah, I'll try and stop it somewhere with dramatic tension, but we'll see if I do.
Music of my people.
Son of a bitch, I think that happened last time I did this. Sorry guys, I'm going to download it really quick. All right.
Going over Jordan. They've set up the tabernacle in the center of the park, an off-white mass sitting like a beached whale on the grass. Joshua parks his daughter's '94 Chevy on the street, taking a deep breath as he kills the engine. He pops a Pepto-Bismol tablet and tosses the wrapper onto the empty passenger's seat. His daughter, Amy, told him not to come here. He said he wouldn't. But here he is in Sunday best. A white button-up, tie, black slacks, and unmatched jacket mercifully covering the sweat stains under his armpits. He swats a fly away from his ear as he steps out of the car. Stumbling over the uneven lawn of the park, he thinks about mumbling a prayer, but all he can remember are lines from catechism, and the words feel hollow. He rustles in his pocket for a handkerchief, dabbing at the sweat on his forehead. Maybe we all sweat as we approach the Lord. In the distance, over the buzz of the cicadas and passing traffic, he hears laughing voices. A group of women in old-fashioned long-sleeve dresses are gathered around a pump near the fountain, washing plastic camping dishware. He catches strains of a song that he thinks he might have recognized once, and his eyes move over to the other side of the tabernacle, where men break down banquet tables. He smells the last remnants of lunch finished and packed away, grocery store hot dogs and onions charred on the park grill. The smell makes his stomach squirm. He passes under a large poster board sign as he enters the tabernacle. The Redemption Chorus, Pastor Isaiah Axel. If anything, it's hotter inside. A young boy, skin glistening with sweat over the collar of his shirt, pushes a tri-folded brochure into Joshua's hand. Joshua smiles, nods, and staggers his way down the central aisle, past rows of folding chairs, hands wrapped around his stomach like a pregnant woman. He takes the aisle seat in the front row, inches from a low plywood stage. A large wooden cross frames the scene. Next to it, a single microphone on a stand, the cord running into a Fender guitar amp reclined at a 45-degree angle. The dials are darkened by years of dust and sweaty hands. He waits in the tabernacle, closing his eyes and dipping his head. Joshua knows better than to respond out loud. This is a voice that only he can hear, a hissing sibilance that resonates in the pit of his stomach. The tabernacle gradually fills, the chatter of the redeemed temporarily drowning out the cadence that slithers somewhere inside. Joshua breathes a slight sigh of relief, straightening to stare up at the cross as a tall, handsome man passes down the aisle, smiling a gleaming smile and laying hands on his flock as he goes. The room dips into silence as Pastor Isaiah takes the microphone from its stand. He radiates calm, everything in his presence promising revelation. "The Lord is here," he intones in his rich baritone. "He has come to work miracles." The congregation stands, Joshua with them, then drops to its collective knees. An isolated hallelujah echoes out through the space. "The Lord is here," Pastor Isaiah repeats. "Who has come to see the glory? Who has come for healing?" Joshua joins in the swelling response as voices call back, "I, I, I." "When I saw him, I fell at his feet like a dead man, and he placed his right hand on me, saying, 'Do not be afraid, I am the first and the last, and the living one. And I was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and of Hades.'" Evening light cuts through the center of the tabernacle and bathes Pastor Isaiah's face in gold. "Please," Joshua prays silently. "Please, Father." The other voice rises unbidden within him. Joshua feels a tearing pain through his stomach with each word. "Please, Father." Joshua weeps. A hand brushes his shoulder as the members of the traveling caravan move down the aisle, touching each supplicant in turn. Joshua catches a glimpse of a heavily tattooed forearm, inexpertly covered by the sleeve of her dress as the woman continues down the aisle. Isaiah's voice booms through the space. "There is someone here with pain, deep pain." Joshua's eyes whip back to the front. He is sweating, but doesn't reach for his handkerchief. "This person has seen every physician, taken every pill and supplement, and all they want, all they crave, is to be well." Joshua plants his hands on the ground, knees popping as he begins to stand. A voice calls out from behind him. Bless me, Pastor.
That's a good stopping place. Yeah, no. Usually when graduate students write about religion, it just pisses me off because it either is a false religiosity or it's just so obviously antagonistic. But that feels like good representation, right? That doesn't feel like it's shorthanding either direction, right? And that's really unusual. So who have we not heard from? Margaret.
Well, now I don't really want to go because mine is about angels murdering each other.
It's probably really good.
No.
We segue well here. It's all good.
Yes.
All right. So God also doesn't want me to make this, I think, because I've tried to record it for 3 days in a row and I've had different problems. So I'm just gonna share my screen with you guys and call this a teaser, I guess, for what's coming. So this would be episode 1, and this is the first scene of it. The commander is ripped from the air at 3,000 feet and thrown into the frigid waters at the heart of Lake Michigan. There is no body recovered. 2 days after his death, Oz is woken from a dead sleep in the small hours of the morning. He can barely see whoever pulls him up into a tired slouch, let alone read their lips. But he can feel the rhythm of the words, the soft breath against his face. Death is frequent enough among their ranks for him to understand what they mean. Time for a brave face, kid. The press conference is brief, bloodless. So is the funeral. Octavia's speech is roughly the same for both. An abbreviated summary of the commander's accomplishments, a word about his widow, another about his team. She stands at the apex of Twin Isles before a massive arc of stained glass. Her wings catch the light of it, the tawny feathers brushed with the pastels of St. John's Church. She looks like something from a fairy tale up at the podium, a ghost of 100 colors. Red, she calls the commander, his call sign famous among the humans he watched over. Rarely were any of them referred to by birth name. Oz can't even remember what the commander was called before he arrived in the 7th Ward. It hardly matters now. Octavia insists on his good deeds, the inherent kindness he embodied. She gestures sweepingly to everyone in the audience, as if to say they all would have been touched by his altruism had he lived long enough to see it through. Oz tries to reconcile this image with the man who had trained him. Several times Red had put him in the med bay. Sometimes his injuries took weeks to recover from. More than once he'd almost died from them. Red was harder on Oz than any of the others under his command. It was considered an honor among their ranks, proof that Red saw something worth beating out of him. Oz didn't feel quite the same. But it wasn't until Red dropped a high-rise on him during rescue training that Oz came to resent the interest the commander showed in him. It was the incident that robbed him of his hearing and the 2 fingers on his right hand. Red never explained why he set off the detonation early. He never apologized either. Octavia's speech ends with a quiet murmur. She assures the crowd that in the wake of this tragedy, the ward would prevail, and they would have blood. There is no such thing as revenge when a good man is killed, she says. There is only justice.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, no, I'm eager to hear the rest of that. You're such a good representative of your own work. right? Like I don't want to hear anybody else reading that. It's really good, because it really seems like you feel the stuff you're writing about. You know. Okay, that's everybody, right? Is that everybody? I didn't miss anybody, did I?
I mean, just me, but I didn't actually have anything. I've been working in dreams, and as you know, like the bigger your project is in dreams, the shorter and
Are you going
smaller.
to show us something in dreams at some point?
Yeah, I hope so. I took the scene that I was working on for last week, the panic attack one, and with entering the doors and coming back out, which in dreams ends up being probably at best a 2-minute scene. But when you're building the world from scratch, and I had to do some refreshers to know how to add audio, like my own audio because it's original, which is kind of crazy because you can add it as you can record it into your computer and put it directly into dreams as you're sitting there.
Really?
And so yeah, as long as it's open.
That didn't used to be possible.
Yeah, they've been doing some updating, so it's kind of good, I guess, that I've had a little time away from it to kind of relearn some stuff. So it's getting closer. It just, you know how big that world building can get.
Believe
so
me, I mean, it's like doing stop motion animation.
Yeah,
you cannot judge how much labor went into it from the length of Ray Harryhausen worked really, really hard to get like 30 seconds worth of stuff. So
yeah, and it's built now. It's just really honestly putting the pieces together into a timeline so that it will play at the right times and things like that.
Okay,
so
great. Yeah, well,
yeah.
just whenever you have something from dreams. Okay, great.
What's the best way to share that, by the way?
I would say output it to video and maybe put it up on YouTube.
Okay, I had trouble with that in the past, so I'm going to revisit that. If not,
well, if you have trouble with it, I'll dive back in and we'll figure it out together.
Yeah, I also have a plethora of the prompts, so if you want me to share the 2 bald professors, I can share that for story time.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead and share that.
Okay, so this was the prompt that I put in, and let's see. Okay, trying to get the screen to go away. How do I get the screen to go? Okay, there. Write a fairy tale about 2 crazy bald English professors. Once upon a time, there were 2 crazy bald English professors who lived together in a big house. They were always arguing and fighting, but they loved each other anyway. They had a beautiful garden with a big pond in the middle where they would go fishing together. One day, they went fishing and caught a big fish. The fish said, "Please let me go. I have a family waiting for me." But the professors wouldn't let him go, and they pulled him out of the water. The fish said, "You're going to regret this. I'll curse you both." And with that, the fish disappeared. A few weeks later, the professors started to feel really sick. Their hair started to fall out, and their skin turned green. They knew that the fish had cursed them, and they knew that they were going to die. They were so sad that they couldn't even fight anymore. They just lay in bed together and waited for death to come. But instead of death, they woke up one day to find that their hair had grown back and their skin was normal again. They were so happy that they hugged each other and laughed. They knew that the fish had given them a second chance, and they promised never to fight again. They lived happily ever after.
The only interesting story about English professors ever written.
It really was beautiful, and I did nothing except,
I like that they fought, but they loved each other, and even when they were sick, they just went and lay in bed, and they still loved each other.
And the curse of the fish. I mean, that was a little true to life. I mean, you're an outdoors guy.
Okay, let's take just a minute. What did Kevin do?
He's just
I'm always happy to kick Kevin out of the Zoom, but if he needs to go, oh, Kevin, please, that's beneath you, Kevin. No pun intended. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes. I want to talk to you about. I want to take a little bit of the rest of our time to talk to you about your second homework assignment, which I think will be pretty easy and fun. But I need to find a thing first. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. God, I hate Outlook. It's so hard to find things in threads in Outlook. I really don't understand that. Okay, here we go. All right.
Once there were 4 children who.
All right. So I'm going to play you some samples of AI readers. And Bryce and I have already talked about this some, and I may have spoken to others of you about it. But our guest next week is going to be Amy Etchison, who is the director of SIU Press, and with whom we're doing a lot of work. And one of the projects she and I want to develop is being able to, rather than having a full-blown voice production like we've been doing with Blanket Fort Radio Theater, we want to try to get into audiobooks that are read by AI. And so we've been looking at AI voices and stuff like that. And I'm going to want you to spend a little time this week looking for good selections of AI voices, getting samples and stuff like that. I know, Bryce, you've already done some of this. I want us to find the service that has kind of the most natural sounding AI voices that they have to be able to respond to SSML, which is something synthesized speech markup language, right? Which is basically, it's like a really simplified HTML that lets you, if a word's pronounced wrong or something like that, it lets you change that. I'm going to place a couple of selections for you. I have, and you can all sign up for it, that there's a free tier that's pretty generous of Amazon Web Services. And one of the things they have is voice synthesis. And so I just produced some short clips of voice synthesis from my AWS account. It's something like 1 million characters a month free or something, right? 1 million characters a month it's over 100,000 words. So you could do a book for free every month, basically. So let me play these excerpts for you. And I will send out the book. Amy has a series of books that she thinks will be good for us to start with, with this project. And they're books about various ethnicities in Illinois, right? And she wants us to start with like the Irish in Illinois. And so I have the PDF of that, and so you can try passages from that book in the various voice synths that you find. So, but let me. Okay. So this is a passage from let's see, it's either 1984 or the beginning of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Once there were 4 children whose names were Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. This story is about something that happened to them when they were sent away from London during the war because of the air raids. They were sent to the house of an old professor who lived in the heart of the country, 10 miles from the nearest railway station and 2 miles from the nearest post office. He had no wife and he lived in a very large house with a housekeeper called Mrs. Macready and 3 servants. Their names were Ivy, Margaret, and Betty, but they do not come into the story much. He himself was a very old man with shaggy white hair which grew over most of his face as well as on his head, and they liked him almost at once. But on the first evening when he came out to meet them at the front door, he was so odd-looking that Lucy, who was the youngest, was a little afraid of him, and Edmund, who was the next youngest, wanted to laugh and had to keep on pretending he was blowing his nose to hide it. As soon as they had said good night to the professor and gone upstairs on the first night, the boys came into the girls' room and they all talked it over. "We've fallen on our feet and no mistake," said Peter. "This is going to be perfectly splendid. That old chap will let us do anything we like." "I think he's an old dear," said Susan.
Okay, so that's a child reading the opening of Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, and that's a U.S. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good, and that's unedited. I didn't do anything to that in SSML, so there are changes I would make, but it's pretty legible. And considering the idea is that if we can automate this, we can do it quickly and cheaply, and then they can sell the audiobooks much more cheaply than audiobooks typically cost. So presumably people aren't, assuming we've got Liam Neeson reading these things. So, all right, so let me, I'm going to give you two different versions of the beginning of 1984. So here we go.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were... It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind, slipped quickly through the glass doors of Victory Mansions, though not quickly enough to prevent a swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him. The hallway smelt of boiled cabbage and old rag mats. At one end of it a colored poster, too large for indoor display, had been tacked to the wall. It depicted simply an enormous face, more than a meter wide, the face of a man of about 45, with a heavy black mustache and ruggedly handsome features. Winston made for the stairs. It was no use trying the lift. Even at the best of times it was seldom working, and at present the electric current was cut off during daylight hours. It was part of the economy drive in preparation for Hate Week. The flat was 7 flights up, and Winston, who was 39 and had a varicose ulcer above his right ankle, went slowly, resting several times on the way. On each landing, opposite the lift shaft, the poster with the enormous face gazed from the wall. It was one of those pictures which are so contrived that the eyes follow you about when you move. "Big Brother is watching you," the caption beneath it ran.
Okay, and I'll live the same passage, but with a different voice.
It was a bright, cold...
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind, slipped quickly through the glass doors of Victory Mansions, though not quickly enough to prevent a swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him. The hallway smelt of boiled cabbage and old rag mats. At one end of it a colored poster, too large for indoor display, had been tacked to the wall. It depicted simply an enormous face, more than a meter wide, the face of a man of about 45, with a heavy black moustache and ruggedly handsome features. Winston made for the stairs. It was no use trying the lift. Even at the best of times it was seldom working, and at present the electric current was cut off during daylight hours. It was part of the economy drive in preparation for Hate Week. The flat was 7 flights up, and Winston, who was 39 and had a varicose ulcer above his right ankle, went slowly, resting several times on the way. On each landing, opposite the lift shaft, the poster with the enormous face gazed from the wall. It was one of those pictures which are so contrived that the eyes follow you about when you move. "Big Brother is watching you," the caption beneath it ran.
Yeah, so yeah, I think the accent really helps, the UK accent. They have, and they have a bunch of voices. They have a lot of UK voices. They have Australian voices. They have New Zealand voices, and they have, for instance, they have Spanish, and it's a Spanish voice that can both speak Spanish, right? I mean, but that if you give it English, it speaks English with a heavy Spanish accent, right? And Hindi and so on and so forth. Lots and lots of them. So there's a lot of variety, and you can switch among the voices. And the only thing I had to do in SSML to that passage was it has the phrase at present, which the voice is pronounced as at present, and I just had to tell it use your second pronunciation for this word, and which is just a very brief, like it's just in brackets, a very simple statement, and so then it just went to at present. So SSML is really pretty easy, and there are things you would change, like you would want to change some emphasis and stuff like that. But it's given that I just threw a passage of prose at it. I thought both the kid and the English lady were pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What do you want us to do?
Well, what I want you to do is I mean, I can give you a list of things I've looked at. Bryce can do the same, but just look up like AI, readers, and most of them will let you do a demo with them, or at least just look at them and see how many voices they are, see how much they cost, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I didn't know if you wanted us to put in any of our own work or something.
Yeah. Well, what I'll do is I'll send you the PDF of the book that Amy thought we could try as an experiment, and you can use some chunks of that and just see how it does with them. It's a nonfiction book, right? Like it's a fairly sort of just straight ahead. It's not literature, So it's the sort of thing that I think would lend itself pretty well to an AI reader, because you're going to buy it fairly inexpensively, and it's not it's not poetry, so you're not expecting the voice to do anything except convey the plain meaning of what you're reading. There don't have to be like subtleties to the reading in a way you would like, from an actor who's reading a book. So just look them up and play with them. Just see what you think of AI voices. Like, what do you? I want you all to start like putting together, like, what is the future going to look like? Like, what are we going to have in 5 years? What are we going to have in 10 years? What are we going to be doing? What do we do that AIs can't do now? And there's a lot. And what do we do that AIs will never be able to do? And that's a more difficult question, and I think demands a pretty capacious imagination, right? Yeah, and I want you to look at Descript, because I know Bryce likes that, and Descript is actually a whole. Do you want to talk about Descript a little bit, Bryce?
Sure. Yeah. Descript, it's a whole. Yeah, it's a bigger platform. I've used it in the past for podcast stuff, because you can actually feed audio into it and then slice your audio on the words. So it's really helpful if you're like really quickly running through a podcast and trying to find like an introduction or something. You can like slice and dice and copy and paste. So it's almost like audio engineering that works closer to like a word processor. But it doesn't do sound or anything like that. But you can use it to you can feed your own voice in.
Mispronounce a word, you can retype in the true pronunciation and stuff like that, right? I mean, it's really remarkable.
Yeah, it's a cool tool, and I mean, my sense is that it would be really helpful for. Again, I've used it for podcast editing in the past, but it does have an AI voice, or it has a set of AI voices, and you can read, or you can upload audio of yourself reading into it, and it'll create an audio version or an AI version of your voice. That's
so we can have an AI version of Maggie.
I mean, that's what I want.
No, I would be so happy to have Maggie just read everything to me from now on. That would be I'd be very happy. So let's do that. Well, but we'll have to pick. Maybe we can sort of all do it. We can read separate, and it'll just do an amalgam of all of us. But a lot of them have the option to make one what they call a brand voice, which is but it only takes like for Descript, it's only like they only need like half an hour's worth of audio, right?
Yeah, I fed in maybe 12 to 15 minutes, and it does any word that it doesn't know in your voice, it replaces with gibber or jabber, which it's able to just like form in your voice, which is really weird. But you can feed in, yeah, like 12 to 15 minutes and get like a really like haunting audio sample of your own voice back that occasionally just doesn't know words.
But if you do the whole half hour, right? You have to be in the paid tier to do the whole voice where it can pronounce anything.
Right? That sounds right to me.
If you do the free thing, which you did, it only has like 1,000-word vocabulary, which is still more than our average undergraduate, I think. And I mean, Coco the gorilla got along just fine with like 600, and was famous, like world famous Coco the gorilla. And I'm just thinking like I know way more than 600 words. What the fuck? But it like so the free version gives you 1,000-word vocabulary, and if you get outside that 1,000 words, it just substitutes the nonsense you were talking about. But if you've got a subscription, you send it about half an hour's worth of audio, and it can pronounce anything theoretically in your voice, right? So yeah, I mean, I think Descript is great to look at, but just look. I kind of want to crowdsource this so that if somebody comes across something with that has like 100 voices or whatever, and they sound good, we can play with them. AWS, like I say, you can get on the free tier of AWS. It takes about 10 minutes to sign up, and they've got a lot of really cool stuff, including some AI stuff that's worth having access to, and platform building stuff, that kind of thing. But just take a little time, learn what's out there in terms of AI voices, see how it does with your work, see how they do with the PDF I'm going to send around, and just generally, by the time we meet with Amy, be ready to sort of talk with her in an informed way about how you think these AI narrated books might work. Because I see it as a real possibility for SIU Press to get a lot of its. There's no way, it's so labor intensive to do an audiobook with people that there's no way to do more than 2 or 3 a year. But if we can automate it with AI, then we could we could bring a whole bunch of their nonfiction backlist into, like, we wouldn't try to do a poetry book this way, but like for their backlist, bring their backlist into audiobooks, cheaply and efficiently, is just a real step forward. And it'll be a great thing for you all to have on your resumes, I would think, that you helped a university press bring its backlist back into print as audiobooks.
I know AI is the focus, but I emailed you earlier this week. I don't know if you saw it, about the theater students could probably definitely use the line on their resumes too. Just get hooked up with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to keep doing the blanket fort stuff. Like, this is not a substitute for blanket fort, but it's just we want to sort of add this arrow to our quiver. It just makes sense as a different kind of thing. And I want you all to get hands-on tech experience with this kind of thing. So I want us to pick a platform. I'll get us a subscription to the platform, and then we're actually going to do this book. We're going to, by the end of this semester, we're going to have this, Irish and Illinois book as an audiobook ready to go on the market. And so Amy will come to talk to us about that early next week.
Pinckney, I don't know if you've actually heard about Speechify before.
Speechify?
Yeah.
I haven't. What tell me?
So I've actually used it before. I think it has like a limit, like 1,000 something words per day, I think. But like the premium version is actually a killer. I've looked at
Really?
it and like I was actually thinking about buying it myself just because I wanted to like, and it's like an add-on. It's like an add-on extension. So basically, it reads anything that you want. So like even if you don't want to read the news, even if you don't want to read like a PDF, like I hate read. I mean, after reading too much, like I feel like I'm just going blind.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I just put the add-on and it reads anything. So it doesn't have to be a book. So PDF, news, everything. Their premium subscription is actually crazy good. I've listened to like few of the demos, and it's actually very close to like real people, and they have like a lot of readers.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm looking at it right now. Emma, Matthew, and Gwyneth Paltrow is in beta. Oh man, no! If it's got, because I've got all kind of shit I want to hear Gwyneth Paltrow say, and I want to hear her voice screaming from inside a box. I actually literally went to see the movie Contagion just because people told me that they did an autopsy on Gwyneth Paltrow, and I was just like, well, I'm not going to miss that. Okay, great. That is awesome. I'll look at that because what we want, and particularly now that we just since you all earned us a lot of money last week, we'll get and if it turns out we want two platforms, if we want if we want Speechify and we want the one that Bryce wants. What is that? What is it called again?
Descript.
Descript. Like we can probably manage that. One of the things we can generally afford is software. So just look and figure out prices. Like what do things cost per year? Figuring a book is 80,000 words, or probably what is that? Probably like 8 hours of reading or something like that. 10, maybe figure a book is 10 hours of audio. Figure out like how many books, if it's every month or every week or whatever, how many books could we do? Could we do a book a month? From the platform you have found that you think is good. If we all land on Speechify, or wherever, but that's great. I will check out Speechify.
My name is Matthew.
Matthew keeps talking to me.
American English voice.
200 words per minute is his. So 200 words per minute, that's 12,000 words an hour, which means that an 84,000 word book would be about 7 hours worth of Matthew. Right? Is my math correct? So yeah, cool. So if we get, if Speechify gave us 10, if we could purchase like 10 hours a month, then that would probably be enough to do a book every month, which would be 10 a year because we're academics. And 7 hours of Matthew. But I think it's an exciting project. Like I think it's a really cool thing. I don't think many people are doing it. There are some services that actually do it for you. You just send them the manuscript and they send you back the audiobook. But I think we want that hands-on part of it. Okay. Anything else? What else? Everybody, you got the homework for next week. Storytime is AI Storytime, and obviously it can be done. You all are getting great results already, so we're going to have so much cool stuff to show the people from Oxford. I'm really excited about that presentation now, and then be prepared to talk to Amy about the AI book narration. Okay. And we'll nail down next week what platform or platforms we're gonna invest in.
Count on that online?
What's that?
Are we counting on online?
Well, nobody showed up, right? So I mean, does anybody object to our just doing this on Zoom from here on? Like, if you feel like you're getting a lesser education because you don't get to sit in a room with me, like I am happy to point the mobile camera at you. That actually overjoys me, making that thing swing around. you know, and automating it. So I just hit a button and it focuses on somebody. So I'm always happy to open that room. And if I'm not doing a big tech thing like I was tonight, I'm happy to sit in there and be in people's presences. But I'm also like, I think this, to my way of thinking, this works just as well as our being in person. And Alexis gets to have the lighting that she wants. She doesn't have to sit in a brightly lit room with the rest of us.
If my Tuesdays weren't 12 hours, in that case, then I totally would be about going. But I go in at 9 o'clock, so it ends up being a really long
like
day.
I say, if anybody, you know, if there's anybody who doesn't want to keep doing it online, or you know wants to, you know, just be in a room with me or whatever, like I'm fine with that. But I'm also, yeah, I value comfort. Like this is, you know, I'm at school, but I'm, you know, this is really, you know, and I have great internet here at school, so. Um, so yeah, you can just let me know if like you're afraid to speak up because you'll be canceled for not wanting to do it online. Just let me know. I'm happy to accommodate, you know, how people want to do this. But this works well for me. You know, I think, and when we needed to be together, we had a space where we could do that. But Amy will be on Zoom no matter what we do. So, so you know, it doesn't, you know, that part of it doesn't matter. All of our guests will be coming in on Zoom, I think. Okay. All right. Very good. Well, thank you. I'm shocked that class is over. I've never had a graduate class that went by faster than this one does, which makes me very, very, very happy. Very good, Mr. Gordon. Well done on the video that you created. You all are going to raise a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it just went out.
It's money for the library. So I asked Jay, how much do we see out of every dollar we raise for the library?
We see the goodwill of CTE.
When we have some people who are going to give money directly to us. I think we're going to do well on a day of giving. So day of giving is March 2nd this year. We raised, what did we raise? Like 200,000 last year, Matt?
I don't remember. I only remember 2019.
We did well in 2019.
Yeah, no, I think we set a record in 2019.
Yeah, like we because we're the main thing that Cola advertises, and we're also kind of the main thing that the library is going to advertise this year. So.
Well, we did the Oculuses. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
I remember us doing the Oculus quests.
Yeah.
As part of that.
We've introduced people. We got the chancellor into VR. We got the president into VR. We got the.
I've still got the photo of Jay, myself, and Dylan with the chancellor in a VR headset.
Yeah. No, I mean we've really broken some barriers here because they're not used to professors in the humanities trying to raise money. Like they're just baffled. And yeah, I suspect I've raised more money. Well, we have raised more money than any other sector of the College of Liberal Arts. So, but it means we get to buy our own AIs. And the other thing is, like, look for AIs that give us plenty of hours and minutes and megabytes, because you all are going to want to use this stuff too, right? Like, one of the things I really, really want is I want people to create something that uses AI voices, AI text from GPT-3, and visuals from Night Cafe, and we'll put that into VR. One of the things we're doing is we're going to build a VR museum of student work, and it would be great to have an experience, a VR experience that was all AI generated, but still interesting and coherent. Yeah, but very dreamlike, right? I mean, AI sort of gets at that weirdly dreamlike state of free association. All right, very good. Thank you. If I don't see you before then, I will see you next Tuesday at 5 p.m. on this channel.